Welcome, 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 everyone. My name is Jerem, and I'm here with my dear colleague, Sharon Hinckley. On Sunday,
you can take the slide down.
Sunday, August 11th, 2024, on the Global Miracle Healing Call. We're so glad you're with us this morning. And we may have some brand new people here on this call. If you are a new person, could you let us know? Could you raise your hand with the virtual hand raise on the bottom of your screen, or you could actually use your real hand. Imke. Imke. Is it possible to share your video, Imke? And Mary is our one-person amazing welcoming committee.
Thank you so much, Jerem. Yes, welcome, welcome. And welcome Anya too, as well. Anya Kumaro, nice to see you. Very good to see you. Thank you. Wonderful to have you, everyone.
Yeah. So, Sharon, would you like to share the theme for today's call?
Yes. The theme for today's call is telling the truth. And the question that we're going to be asking is, have you ever had a situation where telling the truth felt uncomfortable? You could have even walked away without telling the truth, but you chose to tell the truth anyway. And what happened? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Can we ask our new people how they found Ancient Secrets? We would love to hear from them.
Anya, would you like to speak?
Well, I'm a friend of Belle's, and I've known about this group for a long time.
Good.
And I to connect, and I actually go up to Portland to see, what's his name, to have my pulses read. I haven't had that done for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do the PayPal thing, and I never got a response that could I send a check, could I send money, rather than go through PayPal, because I haven't had good luck with PayPal. So anyway, how I am, and that's how I got here. And I know a few people here from Ashland, who are the group, and I'm happy to participate.
Great, welcome, Anya. And just to say, I'm sure you can get the details worked out with the payment. Sometimes it just takes a little time to go through channels.
Well, I don't know what the channel is, because I made a phone call to get her name, but I never heard.
Anya, if you would like to private message me your email and your phone number, then I can go ahead and make sure that you get that taken care of.
Okay, so no, what's your name and everything?
I'm Jana. Oh, I haven't changed my name on this yet. I had to go.
Well, so I'm savvy with the technology, so give me that again. Jana?
I'm Jana Taylor. And, you know, I'll private message you in the chat, and then you can private message me back in the Zoom chat. And then, great. We are so glad that you are here. And it's exciting to have a pulse rate. It's well, apparently you've already had one before. So that's wonderful. Great. Thank you. Jerem.
Yeah, so following up on Sharon's quote, there's a story that is one of the more compelling stories in Dr. Clint's book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer, where he shares about a situation of his father being very, very seriously ill with many different physiological challenges. And Dr. Clint had a sort of a decision point to make that was not an easy one. His dad had gone through various medical treatments and taking many, many medications. And so he had to choose whether to talk to his dad about the treatments that Dr. Naram was able to give people. Dr. Naram being the main person in the Ancient Secrets book, or to simply let his dad continue with the treatments he was doing. So not an easy decision, especially given the fact that Dr. Clint's dad had told Clint that he thought his challenges were so severe that he might not last the week till the end of the week. So story goes that he did decide to speak to his dad about Dr. Naram, and I won't tell you the rest of the story because I'm sure you'll hear it or read it. But it's a very powerful choice point, and many of us need to make those kinds of choice points. So again, we sort of focus on Ancient Secrets on making a choice for love, and even that choice in that kind of a moment is what's most loving. Sharon, I'm sure you have something to say about that kind of a choice point.
I do. So let's see. I was shopping at a store, and I came across this silly little duck thing, but I accidentally hit it with my hand and it broke. And no one saw me do it. I could have just walked away, but I took it to the cashier and I said, I need to pay for this. I broke it. And the cashier said, no, you don't. And I said, yes, I do. I broke it. And she said, no, you told us about it, so you don't have to pay. She said, if we'd caught you going out of the store, that would have been something different. And I said, well, I appreciate that, but I do think I should pay something. So why don't I pay half so you don't lose money? And I feel like I've made a contribution. And anyway, I don't know that I needed a silly duck, but I have one. Thank you, Jerem.
Thanks, Sharon. When you shared your story, I just kind of felt your compassion, like you were there in a space of love for the storekeeper, and not wanting that person to have a loss from the breakage of the item. So I bow to you in your choice there. Before we move on, I think it might be wonderful to take a moment. Excuse me, take a moment. My voice is a little dry this morning. Take a moment to drop from our head to our heart. And Sharon, so I'm going to hand it over to you so we can enter that space of heart and proceed from there.
Would you like us to do the announcements first?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Mhm.
And
Okay,
then,
great.
And then.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Jana.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we are really excited that we're going to be having a program, Ancient Secrets for Emergencies, for those times in our lives where, we need some help, but we only have our kitchen, and we can give we can get the remedies from our own kitchen. So anyway, if you are interested in that program, please email team@myancientsecrets.com. Dr. Clint also has a lot of pulse clinics that he is hosting or having in the United States and in Europe. And so we'll go ahead and post those places in the chat, and then you can go ahead and sign up for those. We also have art time coming up. Sharon, would you like to talk about art time?
I would love to. Thank you. So we're going to have our first art time on the 14th, which is this Wednesday. It's going to be from 10 to noon Pacific time. And the subject is painting on stones. And there's been so many things going on in the news. Sometimes you might feel like throwing rocks, but I suggest painting them instead. And the little rocks make very nice paperweights, and the big rocks make nice door jams. And the stones themselves actually have an intelligence within them. It's a form of meditation. I think art is a form of meditation that takes your brain into a different place. And it's especially helpful for those of us who have busy brains. And I'd like to, this is a very high-tech class. We use pencils with erasers.
You have to understand, Sharon is very funny. She has this great sense of humor.
Toothpicks. If you have chopsticks, that can work. In other words, the only thing that you really need to buy for the class is maybe a little bit of paint. Now, I like the golden fluid acrylics, but you can buy kits if you want, and you're not going to really need a lot of paints. And for this particular class, we're going to be focusing on mandalas. And I will tell you more of the stories about mandala making.
That's so great.
Wednesday. And then I wanted to add one last thing. It's not about painting, but I've talked to you about a stone that saved my life, literally, in 1988. And this is the stone. And I'll tell you that story on Wednesday too. Thank you.
Sharon is, she teaches art. This is what she does for fun and for a little income, I'm sure. And we so appreciate her. What has happened is the artists in the community have come together and they have wanted to be able to find a way to be able to create donations for the orphanage. And so these professionals, really professional artists, have come together and said, hey, let's have a fun, creative time here in Ancient Secrets. And so that is the reason why we're coming together and doing that. So great. If you would like to go ahead and do the meditation now, that would be great, Sharon.
Okay, thank you. So one way of getting into meditation is to focus on something, a candle, painting a stone, looking at an object. But sometimes we have a little challenge with the thoughts. So I'd like to teach you the thought whack-a-mole game. And so what happens with the thought whack, and this is a different whack-a-mole game. We're not pounding the thoughts down. If a thought comes up, we just gently say, oh, thank you. And then just gently invite it to go down. Or sometimes you can think of thoughts like barking dogs. I used to have a German Shepherd and a pet wolf, and they would bark, and I would be like, stop it, stop it. And then I thought, you know, that's their job. They're supposed to bark. So when they started barking, instead of trying to stop them, I just said, thank you. And that can be a way to deal with the thoughts as you gently put them down. Just say thank you and let them go. So we're just going to spend a minute or two. I'll let you do the timing, Jana, in silence. And just gently bring your awareness to your body. Notice how you are sitting. Place both feet on the floor. And notice your toes and your feet. And allow your awareness to flow up from the earth, through your feet and your legs. Moving into your hips, your torso, your shoulders, arms, and hands. Flowing back through the arms, your neck, your throat, your face, and your head. Extending all the way into the heavens. And flowing back down again through the body. And just allow your individual AI, your awareness intelligence, to settle into the center of your own heart, where it has always been.
Gently, slowly come back to the room.
Thank you, Jana. And I would, pardon, I would like to invite the people in the room to think of stories that they might like to share. I'm going to share one more experience I had when I literally came to a fork in the road. This is the fork in the road. Anyway, I was driving on the loop road around Phoenix when I got a flat tire. I was going 60 miles an hour. And I managed to get myself safely off the road onto the shoulder, and I called AAA. And the dispatcher said, yes, she would send someone out. And then she asked me if I was frightened. And normally I like to, put on my big girl pants and boy, I can handle anything. But I was terrified. Not that I thought anyone was going to do anything to me, but there was just so much traffic and it was going so fast and it had been such a, for me, scary experience. I said, yes, I am frightened. She said, I'll send the highway patrol. What happened? I never did see the people from AAA. A Good Samaritan stopped to change the tire. And just as he was starting to do it, the highway patrolman showed up. And he said, I want you to take that car even further off the road. And I was able to do that. The person changing the tire did that, did a beautiful job. No one would accept anything from me for what they had done. But before he left, the highway patrolman said to me, the last Good Samaritan who stopped to change a tire was killed. And I was so grateful that I admitted that I was frightened and that the highway patrolman came and told me to take the car even further off the road, which is where I found literally the fork in the road. Well, it was Sunday evening. Arizona, the streets rolled up and Sunday night. As it happened, I was one stop from a Costco, and my spare tire isn't a real tire. And I have the kind of car that you can only buy 4 tires at a time. You can't just get a new one, and it had unusual tires. So the miracle part of the story was that Costco had 4 of the tires that I needed. They were able to put them on that night, and then I was able to complete my trip the same day. So anyway, I was very grateful that I admitted being fearful, even though I'd rather not feel that way. So does anyone have an experience where they didn't want to tell the truth, but they did? And then sometimes it can be a good idea to actually be quiet. And Shifra, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, that was a beautiful story. And I did actually, I had taken in a young friend who was in a very difficult situation and homeless, and just was very, just a few days ago. And I had really prayed about it before I did it. I said she could stay for a month, and I came to the conclusion that, that I ought to do this. And it became clear to me after a few days that it was not working. And I had a feeling that, sometimes there's something you're supposed to do and it's hard and you're supposed to go through with it. And other times there's something you're not supposed to continue doing. And I kept, it was just very challenging because I love this person and, there weren't a lot of good options. But I talked with people, I prayed, and I finally had a conversation with her. And I'm really glad that I did it lovingly. I didn't do it in a mean way, but I let her know that it wasn't working just for me, not, I didn't make it about her. And it was very, 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 very hard. But what was beautiful was that we had some really beautiful times together. Then it got a little hard again. And amazingly, like she had asked if she could stay till Monday, and I just didn't have a good feeling about that. But I had said yes, and I didn't want to, but I really felt like she needed to, for some reason, she needed to leave by Friday. I don't know why. And she somehow got that message psychically, and we had a beautiful time before she left. And she reminds me of a younger version of myself. And she had a place to go, at least in the short term, that was a good place to go. And I sent her off with love. And, yeah, so it actually turned out to be a good thing. I don't regret having had her come, but I'm glad that I was able to, to say what was hard and yeah, so that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you. As Jerem said at the beginning of the call before Dr. Rogers talked to his father about other possibilities, he was debating with himself, and he said, is that really true? Have I been programmed by my past to believe or act in a certain way? If so, is that programming out of alignment with my life's purpose? And I think there's so many things that we're taught. Actually, the Sanskrit term is varna. It's where we come in and we are, it's all like we come into a certain environment and we're literally covered with varnish. And we look out through this varnish that we are covered with, and it's the filter with which we look. And not all of the filters are bad. In fact, I think some of them are very good, but it's sifting through and knowing what is helpful and what isn't. And this is kind of a little different direction, but sometimes something will come into your mind, and I'm getting better at learning to keep the mouth shut when it needs to be shut as well. After we moved to San Diego, I was one day going around introducing myself to new people in the neighborhood. And we were going to have a neighborhood party. And I met this sweet young girl, and she said, I'm Mary Gallo. And the thought went through my mind, oh, like the cheap wine. There is a deity. My mouth stayed shut. Yes, actually. She was in fact from the Gallo family, but I think the quality of their wine has improved considerably. So does anyone else have a story about a situation where they would have either preferred to be quiet but chose to tell the truth, or a situation where there was a thought that came into their mind and then they realized that it was better to just remain silent.
Sharon, I love your questions. I think they're very, very profound, and they do go into some really deep thought. You have said some things, and I'd like to come back. When you were reading the quote, is this really true? Have I been programmed in my past to believe or act in a certain way? And I just was reflecting on what Schiffer had said, and what Schiffer had said is, her heart was saying, programming said, I really should have her in my home. I should do something kind, but she knew very well that she shouldn't. And that's very impressive that she followed her heart and went against what she, society programs, it was, I don't know whether it was a societal program or not, but I really appreciated Schiffer's comment and understand that, sometimes those choices are very painful. And so Schiffer, I know that you shared that with her with love. It's very evident. So thank you. I know that I've had many times in my life where I have felt I should be silent, but then I said something and it was really the very best thing that I could have done. And unfortunately, I can't think of something right now. And I'm with you, Sharon. There's been times, there was one time I was at a restaurant and the waitress forgot to put on the appetizer, and I could have easily just paid the bill and left, but I don't do that. I let them know this is on my bill or not on my bill, will you please charge me? And they do. And it just is a better feeling, even though it's more money out of my pocket. I actually, I actually had the appetizer. So there's just a level of integrity that comes when you follow your heart and you do the right thing. And yeah. So is there anybody else? Go ahead.
I was going to keying onto that. I one time got an extra $20 bill out of the ATM machine. It was behaving like a little slot machine, I guess, but I took it back and gave it to the bank. But one of the quotes that we were going to that had been suggested that we use today is to not ever do anything that you're ashamed of. And I would like to say that I've never done something that I was ashamed of, but that isn't true. So the story that I'm going to tell now, which is true, I was taking some yoga classes and I had about half an hour before class, and I didn't have time to go anyplace else or do anything. I suppose it would have been higher if I just sat and meditated, but I was walking through the neighborhood and the thought went through my head, I'd like to take some flowers to the yoga studio today. And I've never done what I'm going to confess to now before. I seriously doubt I'll ever do it again. But I started going into people's yards and picking their flowers. And some of the people came back. Now, they did not see me. They didn't know that I had done this. I could have just gone on, but I went up and I said, I was just in your yard and I picked these flowers. Do you know what happened next? They said, we're so happy that you like them. Would you like more?
Hmm.
And I want to acknowledge Shifra for what she did with her friend. I had a very similar situation with a, actually, I've probably had hundreds of people stay in my house. My stepmother taught me that if you have, what is it? roof over your head and soup at the pot, share it with people. And I've always tried to share what I could, but there was one particular person that kept asking me for help, and she needed help, but it was beyond what I am capable of. And I told her, you need to find a financial advisor and a mental health professional. I am that's not my skill set. That's not my skill set. And anyway, she showed up one evening and she said, "Oh, I'm moving in with you." And I said, no, because I think one of the lessons, at least for me, you can't take care of anyone else until you learn how to take care of yourself. And some of us learn that later, but it's never too early to learn that lesson. It's never too early to earn that lesson. Oh, Esther, yeah, it sort of was an unexpected response to my flower picking, but I actually think that they felt appreciated, which isn't exactly what I would have expected. And so then I was telling the story for the family, and the question was, well, how would you feel if people came in and picked roses from our yard? And I don't know, but I sort of wanted to, some of the houses in the neighborhood that grow herbs, they put herbs in front for people to take. And so many people have bookshelves where you can put a book and take a book.
It's really amazing what you're saying, because, I don't really have a green thumb, but I try. But when I do grow the flowers that I have, I'm very proud of them. And so to be able to have someone come up and say, I picked your flowers, what a compliment. That's really, really great. So, and I think that a lot of people garden because of all the extra benefits, the stress relief or the enjoyment of being outside and being in earth. And, so, giving away the flowers or the herbs or even vegetables, it's just really a great feeling and a great accomplishment of something that they can give. So it is an unexpected response to you picking the flowers, but it's a good one. So.
I have a couple of little stories that I wanted to share. One was I was about 10 years old, and I was playing ball with a friend in the next neighborhood over from where I lived. So I wasn't too familiar with that neighborhood. And I don't remember the exact circumstance, but somehow I broke one of the neighbor's basement windows. And I was scared. I didn't want to get caught, and I didn't say anything. And one of the kids from this next neighborhood over told the owners that I had done it. And so I had to sort of come clean and speak with them, and I made amends. The lesson there being that at 10 years old, I didn't have too much awareness about cause and effect and how this is an inconvenience for someone. And the people were very gracious about it when I did speak with them. And then many years later, I was on the street in the very small town I lived in upstate New York, playing Frisbee with some people. It was at night, and somehow I managed to throw a Frisbee that ended up breaking a neon sign, which was the local tavern. And I had met the owner of the tavern, who was a retired New York City police captain. And we had a kind of a nice rapport. And it was nighttime, and I didn't see him that evening, but I saw him the next day. And I told him, hey, I'm sorry I broke your sign and I'd like to pay for it. And he said, oh, thanks for telling me. I appreciate that. And I'll get back to you. And long story short, it never happened. He never came back to me, and he took care of it on his own. So it was sort of, I got the lesson from when I was 10, many years later.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, you were reminding me of a personal growth group that I had participated in many years ago. And basically, did you ever steal anything? And which, well, I guess my theft had gotten smaller from Xeroxing things at work to flowers in the garden. But I had, when I worked for a department store in Washington, DC, and I had, you weren't supposed to Xerox things on company time, and everyone did, but just because everyone does doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So I figured out what my Xeroxing might have possibly cost them, and I sent them a check. And I got a letter back from the store with my check in it, and they said, this proves that we hire the right kind of people.
Hmm.
I was very touched.
Hmm.
And Susan, would you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, well, I have a story I'd like to tell, but before I do that, I just wanted to make a comment about telling the truth to ourselves, because I think that that's the most challenging thing to do, is to really be able to, at least for me, to really look deeply at myself and tell myself the truth about what I'm doing or what I'm not doing, and the truth about what I'm feeling. You know, if it's not in alignment with how I think I should be feeling, or just telling the truth is really a deep and profound process that the more I do it with myself, the more I grow. But it's challenging when you have an ego that likes to think of yourself in a certain way. And then in relationships also, to really, if you're out of integrity or you're acting in a certain way, and to have your partner point it out and then tell the truth about, yeah, I'll own that, I did do that. So I just wanted to make a comment about that. And then I wanted to tell my story. Oh, I bet there's someone here that would agree with me on that one.
Yeah.
Funny how he comes in at this
Well,
moment.
I've been,
But okay.
I've been circling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, the part about admitting your own truth, and there are places in my life where my image of myself in my own mind doesn't match up with the truth, and it's really a profound gift to have a mirror
On certain days.
to doesn't always seem like a gift,
No.
but it
Maybe
is
cloudy mirror sometimes.
to help me see the reality, and not my illusion or delusion. And so I'm grateful for that, because it helps me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so thank you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So now I'm just going to quickly tell my story about redemption bug. So Joe and I were traveling somewhere, and I was into mosaicing rocks. And so we got to this exterminator, and they had beautiful rocks. I mean, you know, landscaping rocks. And I went, oh my God, those are great rocks. And so we pulled over, and I took a rock And as I'm taking, I picked out like this fabulous rock, and the man who owned what was that name? The exterminator place came out and said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I immediately became about 7 years old, and the man became 7 feet tall. And I'm taking a rock, sir. And, I said, "I do mosaics. It's a great rock." And he said, "All right." Well, I got in the car and I felt so guilty. I mean, for taking a rock. And so I said, "Okay, I'm going to mosaic him a bug." And I called it redemption bug. And there's the bug I mosaicked him on that perfect rock. And so I brought it to him when I finished it, and he didn't know who I was. And I said, "Hi, I'm the person that took your rock. And here, I've made this for you on the rock." And he just looked at me and disgusted. Here I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be so thrilled. He was kind of disgusted. And then I really looked at him, and he was about 5'10". He was not a giant, and he was just a man. And, but I've remembered Redemption Rock, and it's the same story that other people are telling about making right what you think isn't right. And just really wanted to echo that. And I keep Redemption Rock in my heart. So those are my shares. Thank you.
Mm. Beautiful, Susan. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair.
I love your story about Redemption Rock. That's so wonderful. And it's interesting to me, the common thread that we have, because I get my rocks not from an exterminator. Well, occasionally I'll pick up one at the beach, but there's a stone yard that sells the rocks for landscaping. And they do give away samples, but of course I take a lot of rocks. Well, when I first started going there, I would pick up some rocks and I'd go and I'd say, "I need to pay for these." And they'd say, "No, you can take the sample." Well, anyway, one day I went in and I had the rocks and I was starting to get in the car. And someone said, "You have to pay for that." And I said, "That's what I've been saying." And so anyway, now I get to pay for the rock, but it's they sell things by the ton. So I pay the percentage of the ton that I've brought home. And I also appreciate what you were saying about the mirrors. There's a reason I wore my mirror necklace today. So
Very cool.
and Shifra.
I was thinking a lot about what people said and how, wanting to give back what was taken, and it's an issue in my personal life. And I also feel that there's a larger context, and where it's difficult, where you see the level of inequity that's going on in our world, and where we were in Sedona, and we had we were in touch with Native Americans. I mean, there was a way that I feel that this land was taken from them, and there are people who were stolen from where they came from. And so it's really a question of, I'm not telling people what to think, but it's very hard it is very important. Part of what I learned from this was that the person thought that I talked too much and pointed out some things to me that were not so comfortable. But it's just a kind of a dilemma of how do we do this on a personal level, and how do we do it on a societal level when there's massive, I'm just feeling a lot of what's going on the planet right now. And I just feel it. And I'm not trying to be morose about it, but I feel it coming through my body. And it's just a question of how do we live in an equitable way in a very unequitable society and in an equitable world. And the answer is not to, be a little miser with nothing for oneself. Because I've seen people who I know dedicate their life to social justice and they still have a nice home. So it's just a question. I don't really fully have the answer to it. But I also know that if I'm in a mode of I'm going to save you, then that person becomes an object to me that I have to save. And I lose sight that they have, that they're a complete human being and I learn so much from them. And I often feel like I need to be saved. So a lot of times the solutions are not on an individual. I mean, they can be on an individual level, but they're I think on a more collective. I lost the view of everybody else. They're on a more sometimes it has to be on a more collective level, like say what we're doing in Nepal. That's just the dilemma. Like how do you live with these type of inequities and address them in an effective way. Thank you.
Thank you, Shifra. That was lovely. I don't know that you were, well, I guess you weren't asking a question. For me, I'm thinking of the answer is being both and maybe it's like the stones. You just do one at a time and try to keep the best in your heart as you can. Susan had reminded me of a situation when I was the president of our local artists guild, and she was talking about how all of a sudden she felt 7 years old and the other person was 7 feet tall. Anyway, someone had passed away in this group and I didn't really know the person, and I'd put an announcement in the Artist Guild newsletter. And someone called me so irate that you should have written this, you should have written that. And she said, or not even that, she said, she complained about the announcement. And then she said, who wrote this? Well, my former self would have said, oh, that was the third undersecretary. But I told the truth and I said, I did. What would you like me to write? And she was, oh, and then she told me. And sometimes it's just as simple as saying, what would you like? That doesn't mean you're able to actually fulfill their request, but just being asked, what do you want? In fact, Jerem, would you like to lead us in the what do you want, Marma? You're so
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. It's a wonderful device brought to us through the amazing Siddhaveda lineage from the past 2,500 years, how to bring our intention into fruition. So we'll give the abbreviated form. Take the index finger of your right hand, and we're going to take the thumb of the left hand and the index finger of the left hand, and we're going to press the fingernail on that right hand. And we're going to do that 6 times while holding the intention of what we want. And the added imagery is to imagine a white frame in front of our right eye with the image of what we are wanting, what we are putting out the desire to the universe. I would like this, please. So we're going to just do that, holding that image and press 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In our Marma group, we often bring in that we are grateful in advance for this gift from the universe coming to us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And more often than not, we will repeat 6 times 6 to bring that marma into fruition. And there are other parts to that marma that, because of time constraint, we won't do right now, but marmas are an amazing, amazing thing that we have been gifted with from this lineage. Handing it to you, Sharon.
Oh, okay. Well, there's another step to the
Sharon,
yes.
yeah, if we could, if we could, it's time. So if we could get the breakout rooms ready, but before we do, I would like Anne Renee to speak. And on the marmas, if you could refer back to the book and do them, and we can go ahead and do that another time. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. Sharon and Jerem, thank you so much for hosting today. It's been a pleasure being able to hear your stories. I love it. And Renee, I would like you to share.
Well, we've just come, I don't know how many of you know about the Lion's Gate, but it's this time when the god star Sirius lines up with the earth and Rigel and of Orion, and it's like this, it's the planetary new year, it's the cosmic new year. So that just happened on the 8th, and this year it was 888, which 8 is all about abundance, it's about fluid, it's about infinity, it's about moving forward in harmony, really, and the flow of harmony within our lives when we are at peace within ourselves. And I just feel like personally, well, I feel like collectively, we're on this journey of coming home to our heart. That's what the Mystery School of Earth is all about, coming home to our heart, coming home to loving compassion and being able to hold that space. And part of that is, releasing the judgments that we have, first of all, about ourselves and then about others, and when we can release the judgments, then we can go into that neutral place within our heart. And it was up on Mount Shasta and we were doing this ceremony, and one of the things is that we created a vow to ourselves for the next year. And my vow was to really grow and remain in my own sacred heart temple. And I love it that as soon as we make a vow to ourselves, then we have lots of opportunities, tests come to like, okay, can I stay in my heart? Can I keep that temple open? Can I be true to myself? And can I see myself a year from now with an expanded heart space and really serving putting everything that is not aligned with my highest truth or the highest way of integrating things around me on what I call the altar of love in my heart temple. So, I think it's just something to ponder on, is like, how can I be more in my heart in every moment? And that's my initiation for this year. So I bless all of you, and I'm so grateful for this community. It really has such heart essence to it, and I think we're all working on this together. Thank you. I love you.
Beautiful, Anne Renee. Just one quick aside is that Imke, who's here on her first time on the call, messaged that she put a link in the chat for the Pulse Clinic that's going to be happening very soon in Vienna, Austria. So if you're in the Vienna area and would love to get in and have a pulse reading, please check the chat for today's chat. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that it's time for our breakout rooms. The calls are now 45 minutes long instead of an hour and a half. So we have to remember that when we come in, if there's something that we want to share, that we need to get that immediately, depending on what the hosts and the co-hosts are doing. So Robin, if you could prepare the breakout rooms, that would be great. And you know what?
They are ready. They are ready.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and express our love to each other by rubbing our hands together and saying, I love you and I'm with you. If you'd all unmute.
I love you and I'm with you.
Love you and I'm with
I
you.
love you and
I
I'm with
love
you.
you and I am
Love
with
you and I'm with you.
Thank you, everyone.
Love
Love
you.
you and I am
Love
with
you.
you.
Love you and I'm with you.
I love you and I am with you.
Love you and I'm
Love
with
you and
you.
I am with you.
Awesome. Robin, if you'd just go ahead
Love
and
you
open up the
and I am
breakout
with
rooms.
you.
All right.
Thank you.